Okay, so I have my people here, my dad and my son, and then just some randoms I found on the street. No, I'm just kidding. It's my family. Okay. So, Dad, can you please mute the TV, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, everyone. Today I will be giving a speech called Tackling the Issue That Is Football. Aaron Hernandez, New England Patriots star, lovable husband and family man, and a dependable friend. Not a single person would have thought to add cold-blooded killer to this list of things, nor could they have possibly imagined spending the latter part of Hernandez's life in courtrooms and jails. At only 27 years old, Hernandez was sentenced to be serving life in prison for first-degree murder, and during this time, Hernandez killed himself by hanging himself in his prison cell. After doing extensive research, scientists found during an autopsy on his head that he was suffering from chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and one of the most severe cases for someone of his age. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy has now consumed what studies have shown to be 110 out of 111 NFL players who have died and had the autopsies done on their head. This is a progressively degenerative disease of the brain, commonly found in people with a history of brain trauma, so that constant colliding and hitting of their head. After doing that extensive research on CTE, I have come to highly agree with people who have studied it and the scientists that the best way to rid any type of CTE from potentially attacking someone's brain is to completely get rid of football altogether, or to at least start at a very young age of football players, like children's football. I know that based off audience analysis and, common sense, that most of you are not going to support such a plan, but if you could just bear with me and have an open mind about what I'm about to show you, I think that we'll be able to discuss the major issues that may be attacking these football players and even other people like veterans or boxers, and even our children, preventing them from getting the CTE at these very young ages, or brothers and sisters, or fathers, or mothers, or anything. There has come to be an incredibly high number of deaths that can be traced back to CTE, not only an alarming amount in football players, but like I said, military or boxers, victims of domestic abuse, and various other things that would cause those blows to the head. CTE has now been linked to suicides, murders, and domestic violence cases that were sudden onset or even progressive debilitation in many different sports now. However, CTE can only currently be detected after a person is dead. So it's not something that we can test while that person is alive and give them some type of medicine to help cure it. It can only be done when that person has passed. The protein in the brain called tau forms clumps that spread throughout the brain, and this kills those brain cells. This disease has been seen in people as young as 17, but it's more common in people who are older, who have had that constant beating on the head and the constant progression of that beating. Evidence shows that regardless of how that person died, if they were involved in some type of head collision or colliding or banging activity often, they had some form of CTE. So like I said, out of 110 football players, 111 of them had it. This is including high school, college, and NFL players. That research shows that 200 plus cases involving tackle football, 25 plus military cases, and 50 plus cases of global individuals within boxing came into the light of CTE. The most common cause of death, 27% among of those mild stages of CTE, the stages 1 and 2, there's 4 stages, was suicide. One of Hall of Fame linebackers took his own life and showed signs of stage 2. This is a more neurodegenerative related cause of death, including symptoms that are attributed to things like dementia or even Parkinson's disease. Was a leading cause. 47% of players who had those stages 3 and 4, which are obviously much more severe. Among 27 participants found to have a mild CTE encephalopathy, 26 had behavioral or mood issues that had shown before they had even passed. Now that we've heard a little bit of the statistics on the people who have fallen victim to this disease, I would like to touch more on the common symptoms that you can look out for within your children or even people that have been in football for a long time and potentially have had head colliding injuries. There are 4 stages of CTE, all of which have some slightly different and sometimes those early symptoms. First stage is one that is more difficult to spot, if even able to catch at all. Early on, symptoms include small things such as headaches or even like difficult concentration or the ability to remember things. This is mainly difficult to catch considering a lot of people suffer from everyday things like this, like the memory loss, the headaches. It's not something that you can just relate to CTE. Stage 2 is much like stage 1, however, there's more behavioral issues that are going to arise. Those with CTE in stage 2 find themselves suffering from depression or mood swings, explosivity, and short term memory loss, along with those symptoms that are included in the stage 1. Although less common, individuals can also experience executive dysfunction, language difficulties, impulsivity, and potential for suicide. This one, again, not as common. That's when we touch into stage 3, when things start to get a little more out of control with that dysfunction, the memory loss, major language difficulty. There's also a huge difficult issue with attention and that concentration at this point. They're not able to recall certain things that happened a week or two ago. Additionally, the individual frequently develops visuospatial difficulties and major aggression with the mood swings. It's almost like a steroids kind of aggression where it's just that onset. There's that headaches, impulsivity, and then the suicide symptoms have been noted in stage 3. According to a college study, 75% of the people studied with stage 3 CTE were considered to be cognitively impaired, so they were not exactly putting things together on their own. Once an individual reaches stage 4, this is the most severe stage that one can reach out of them, obviously. There's not really a whole lot of turning it around or fixing it or being able to go back and help this individual. In this stage, the individual suffers with an initial memory loss that spirals into extreme memory loss into dementia. So at this point, like, this person's not even remembering who you are. Additionally, researchers found that most of the people studied with stage 4 CTE also developed a more profound loss of attention and concentration, severe language difficulties, and even paranoia within this person. 31% also showed signs of Parkinson's. The most common causes of death at this point, however, are respiratory failure, cardiac disease, suicide, overdose, and end-stage dementia with malignancy. As you can see, the extent of the issue at hand is 100% clear. I'm sure some of you are wondering, well, what steps can we take to potentially stop the CTE from eating our children alive? Let me tell you. There are 3 major ways that I think we can take steps to solve this problem. First, we need to look into new helmets and improved designs to help prevent concussions and CTE. Obviously, this happens probably every day, year-round, forever since football has come about. We have talked about helmet improvements. The first thing that I think is into these designs is for those concussions. If we stop concussions altogether, which will never probably ever happen, but if we can at least slow them down, it would help majorly with CTE. New helmet designs are receiving a ton of attention in concussion prevention research. For example, there was 1500 Vicus 01 helmet is designed with a soft outer layer that crumples and bounces back after impact. The crumple zone slows down in impact. Helmets that are too heavy have been shown to increase the mass on the head and therefore the acceleration that the person is colliding with. This could result in an increased risk of neck injury and concussions. Other designs for new helmets include a bristly textile with spring-like fibers, and that's more meant to replace the foam in the helmets, an internal suspension system that would allow the inner layer of the helmet to move independently of the outer layer. This would drastically help to prevent not only CTEs, but all of the concussions as well. Second, neck stabilization and mouth guards have been shown to help play a major part in preventing the CTEs. Improving neck support is important for reducing concussions in football. Restricting neck motion or reducing how quickly the neck motion speeds up or slows down is important because of how flexible the neck is altogether. Mouth guards are kind of more of a touchy subject because there's not a whole lot of proof that really goes into showing that that person, the mouth guard and the biting down would help prevent concussions, but it has been shown to dramatically help. At least if you're not smashing your teeth together or grinding your teeth, it can help with the head impact overall. So, as we have discussed, it's easy to say that football is one of America's top sports, one of the top grossing sports, and would be nearly impossible to ever rid ourselves of. However, I think it is very important to consider that with football, there's going to come major injuries along with the CTE. We want to protect our children at all costs. We want to protect them growing up, and we want to watch them grow into young adults and to old adults and be able to live long lives. So, while I do not foresee the banning of football ever happening, I do strongly encourage to educate your children and educate your loved ones on how exactly we can help this situation as a whole. And that is my speech. The end. My people are still here.
No.
Dad and child. Where are you? Yes. Thank you so much for watching my speech. Goodbye.